Hello, church family, and welcome to Miracle Monday. We are so excited to be able to share the next few moments with you as we look at a powerful testimony of how God is working in and through the church. You know, we believe that we serve a miracle-working God, and we hope that you can be encouraged by these amazing stories of how the Holy Spirit is moving in people's lives today. Today, we're excited to have Caitlin Andrews share with us her powerful testimony of how God was able to speak with her and draw her back to Him. Take a listen.
Hey everyone, my name is Riley. I'm the youth pastor here, and today for Miracle Monday, I get to interview Caitlin Andrews about her miracle, about coming back to church. So Caitlin, can you give us a brief introduction of who you are, a little bit of your story, then we can jump in right to the miracle.
I'm Caitlin. I grew up at this church at FCC. I was actually dedicated here in 2001 when my family moved here. Both my parents' have went to this church. They're now moved away, but I have a lot of history at this church. You know, I grew up in this church as a kid in Sunday school and youth ministry and all that. But yeah.
So the miracle that we were talking about is this idea of you coming back. Can you describe kind of like the whole situation, the whole context of that thing, of you leaving and then coming back in?
Like I said, I have been at this church for a long time. As a kid, I was very strong in the church. You know, it was very important to me. And as I went into high school, I think things began to change. And it happens a lot. It's not new. But I remember I kind of fell away from it, I'd say, grade 11 grad year. And, when that happens, you make the decision whether you want to kind of go back or not, and I chose not to at the time. So over the course of like the 3 years outside of high school, I can say it was a very dark time. It wasn't exactly light and bright, I guess. And then I decided to come back.
That's awesome. So during that time, you weren't really attending church, you weren't really doing like that, but you felt God was still calling you back the entire time?
Yeah, I can say truthfully, I had a lot of nights and stuff where I was feeling just so alone and lost, I guess you could say. But I can say this truthfully now, knowing what I know and having come back, there was not a day, I don't think, that went by where I didn't feel that kind of tug, or I didn't feel that kind of guilt, maybe not guilt, I wouldn't want to say guilt, but just, I think I was scared to come back. I knew that I wanted to come back to church for, a while, but it was just very hard for me because I felt that I was continuously in, one foot out type of thing.
Well, thanks for being honest with that. So what was kind of the defining moment, that moment where you said, you know what, enough is enough. I want to just pursue Jesus with everything I have?
I guess it happened in the fall. As we know, I came back and I became one of the youth leaders. At first, I wasn't very sure about it, and I didn't really want to. If I'm being honest, I was kind of scared to come back. I was scared of that, but I loved it. As I started again being a youth leader, and it was just such an amazing opportunity. And from that, I kind of stemmed more into children's ministry and then worship and then going to church and stuff like that. And I realized okay, this is where I want to be. I finally feel at home. I felt complete again, that thing I'd been looking for, that thing I'd been searching for. It was almost like it had snapped back on or something, and I felt happy and joyful, and I hadn't really felt that way in a very long time.
Yeah, that idea of home, that's the miracle, right? I mean, God's constantly calling us back to Him. And your story is a great testament of that whole thing, of God constantly calling people back, saying, I love you, I'm still here with you. And it's great always to hear that, and I think a lot of people can resonate with this idea of God's constantly calling back. And so I want to ask though, for those who are kind of feeling the way you did, right? That 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I don't know if I can come back kind of thing. What would you say to them? What advice or encouragement would you bring?
I would say that, at the end of the day, sometimes people are always going to make their own opinions known sometimes. People have their own opinions and stuff like that. But what was a defining thing for me was remembering that God loved me. You know, He wanted me there. It wasn't about anyone else. And, you know, that was kind of something that I had to like remember. And for anyone, I guess, that's like kind of struggling with that idea of coming back and they're scared or they don't know what to do, just know like God's love it's unfailing, it's perfect, and He wants a relationship with you. So I would say just keep remembering that, and remember that, you know, the church, it's the building, but God's the reason you're going, God's the reason you're there.
Yeah, well, that's the crazy thing about a miracle. It's just an act of God. And so seeing God act in your life and bring you back to the church family has been so great. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of Miracle Monday. And it's so good. So hopefully you guys had a great time. Please like and share this video all across social media. And yeah, thanks.